In this part of our overwintering series, I'm going to talk to you about the shrubs that are going to stay in your borders that require some sort of pruning for their own protection through the winter months. This is also a very good time to be creating a better shape on them so that in the spring they get away and grow and look good for you. I'm also going to show you some perennials that you can cut back if you wish to create a tidy space. I'm Rosie Hardy, this is Rosie Hardy Gardening. I am standing next to an Anisodontea El Royo, and this is becoming a little bit unruly. Now we are at the end of September, beginning of October, and a lot of people find it very, very difficult to prune a plant like this when it looks as though it's in full flower. But if you don't do something about getting rid of these branches which are going down like this, as soon as they get frost on them or they get heavy rain or snow, they will go down, they will snap, and you will have a problem with your plant. Let's take a look at how we're going to do this. So this plant is out, it's got a central hole down here, so we need to look at removing some of the heavy growth. It will always grow and come back and flower, so do not worry about cutting off bits in flower. I'm going to start off with the branches which are coming down, which are going to damage first, and we're going to take them back at least 2/3 of their growth. So this actual branch here is coming right in from the back here, and we need to be taking it back to other growths in the center. When you look into the shrub itself, there are little nice new shoots coming, and you're going to cut to those new shoots. I'm going to take this branch and I'm going to cut it back to a nice growth in the back there. And then we've got ones that are coming down and laying on top of other branches, so we will prune those back. These are all heavy and coming forward. I'm being very careful to check and see what I'm doing so that we don't end up with a really bad shape, but there's an awful lot of crossing over going on. So we're going to just lighten the load just a little bit, and I'm going to take it back a little bit more. Remember, if you're lightening the load a bit, just take small pieces off to start off with, because it's better to have to go back to a branch and cut a little bit more off. You can't stick it back on. I am just tidying up some of these lower growths, 2 shoots, so that they're not overshadowing and going on top of other plant material that is there. And this will just lighten the load fractionally of this plant. And I'm always following the stems and going to a new growth. Just follow it down and go to a new growth, and taking out dead stuff at the same time. So we have this growth arm, and I'm following it down, and I'm going to a nice top growth like this. So we're going to there, and then we're going to cut. And that has gone back up with into nice height there. Once we get round to this side, we'll just do the same, and we will reduce it back, just making it so that it's not in front of the window, and taking a lot of this heavy weight out of the middle of the plant itself. This will then mean that it is not flopping on top of itself. We're still leaving enough flower there, but we just want to make it so that it is got a better structure. So we've got some very heavy growths that are coming forward and laying over the top of other material in here. And to make it so that the plant is not as congested, we're just thinning out some of this plant material to be less congested. Still got plenty of flower showing on this plant. It's now in a better shape. Remember, stop, go back and stand and look at what you've done, and then come back in and have a little look. So from when I started to now, I have taken a lot of weight out of this shrub. If you were to come in and look at this, you'd go, what a beautiful shrub. But when you saw it before, it was really heavy. It was still a beautiful shrub, but it needed that bit of pruning to take all of this growth out of it to create something which will be happier and be able to overwinter far better. Now we're going to have a look at some hardy geraniums to cut back and some other perennials. Cutting back perennials. Now there are two schools of thought. One is that you leave it all there and you wait until the spring and you use it as a spring cleaning exercise to go through and cutting back your perennials. Now we're in a slightly more, what would we call it, a area of the garden whereby there are cut hedges and it's a little bit cleaner and tidier. And also you've got material like this which really is not enhancing all of this beautiful paving. Plus, if you leave it all and it all goes onto the paving like that, it's going to become much slippier. This hardy geranium, for instance, really doesn't look very good, but if you cut it back, it's going to, at this time of the year, put on some fresh growth, and that will then be the growth that you leave. So all you're going to be doing on this is literally giving it a haircut. So you are just getting rid of all of this old brown material like so, and then leaving all of the new green that is coming through, and you will end up with something that looks far, far better. Now this will then can be tidied up. It looks good. Also at this time of the year, if you can do this, this is when you can see young seedlings, and you'll be able to get these young seedlings out of the middle of the plant as well. Back into his pond. So here's a seedling that we don't want in the middle of this plant. So this seedling here, this is what really good for plants that are out in the open like this. Things can get in and grow. This is a tree sapling. We don't need this at all. And we're going to need to try and get it out with its root. We don't want to leave the root in there, so we can dig down and try and get it out. These are my sod snips, so it doesn't matter that they're going into the ground like these. These are not my good ones that I would be using for propagation. Here we go, and out it comes. We don't want things like that. So this time of year for getting things like that out is really good. Now this is just literally a haircut, and you know, you're just going round taking off all of this dead material and tidying it all up. As you can see, it's spreading out a huge distance from where the planting hole is. And once it is tidied up, it will regrow new leaf to go through the winter. This is a hardy geranium. It is a sanguinium type. From remembering, I think this one is Max Fry, which is a lovely bright pink. Oh no, just found the plant. No, it's Sanguinium striatum. So that's a soft pink with striped petals, and we're just going to tidy it up like that. We need a brush. Haven't got one at the moment. We can brush it up a bit later, but there we go. We've taken out any big weeds that were going to cause a problem, and if you get them out when it's always better to get the weeds out when they're small. So if you see a weed, take it out. That's the best way to keep things tidy, because if you go and do it, I will have to get a brush now. But there we go. So that has still got some growth there. We've taken a tree sapling out. We've taken some weed out there. I'm actually going to leave these little seedlings in because those are Nigella, love it in the mist. So they will look beautiful coming through. They're not a nuisance. You don't want the perennial weeds in there. And that's going to grow back and look quite nice. And even with the bit of growth that's there now, it's still of interest. We may have disturbed a little frog, but he's gone in the pond. He'll find another home. That's absolutely fine. One of the reasons I've done this here is this could have made a very slippery walkway. So that's why these ones are going to be cut back and just be left as a mat. You can get round there quite easily. If you're leaving them in the border, you can leave them up. That's absolutely fine. And if you do leave your plants in the border and you leave them up, then they are a good place for overwintering insects and birds to have a bit of the seed. They also can look very architectural, especially when they get the frost on them. We've switched to my own garden because I've got a couple of shrubs here which I'm sure a lot of you have in your garden, and I just want to show you what to do with them. This is a young buddleia, and unfortunately it's gone over like that. I don't want it like that, and in the autumn time it is quite easy. You can take them down to knee height, around about 18 inches, 45 centimetres, and you just cut them to a pair of stems like so. Do them to that height. You cut down to a pair of shoots like so, and then you end up with a really good shape. And now hopefully all of these are going to grow away really nicely. If there's anything left that's a little bit too long, you can just tip it off, and that is a good shape, and that is going to make me a much better flowering shrub for next season. Also at this time of the year, because my Sephora gets so big, I do cut this back as well. Now you have to remember that it does flower on new wood, so I am going to be cutting off a bit of the flower that I would get in the spring, but it has become too huge. It is going to fall over and collapse, so I am happy to sacrifice a bit of flower. What I would do is, because I don't want it so far away from there, I will take a large branch like so, and I will cut it off, and I will cut it off right inside the shrub. I'm going to leave the height, but what I want to do is get rid of some of this bottom growth. So again, I'm going to take these pieces that are coming out here. There is dead wood which I can get out as well, but just to make it a bit clearer so you can see what I'm up to, this big long one I'm going to take right the way back to here and cut off at this point here. What I'm really wanting to do is actually just get some of this weight out of here and push it back, because it is just too much. I know there's lots of bud on here, but I'm just going to have to take out pieces as I go. I have a clematis growing in through here as well, and it doesn't really matter if its stems get cut out. So I have to just look at what's happening. I've got a big amount going over that way as well. I just need to lighten off some of these branches and just thin it out a little bit. Now I'm going to go to this branch here. It's in the way, it's coming out too far. I'm going to take it back to some growths at the back here. It will look a little bit bare to start off with, but it soon grows back. It is such a thuggy shrub, and to be honest, I'm just happy sometimes to have things that are thuggy, but I do just need to reduce it. Now I'm going to go round the back, and there are some bits that are going right up here, and I want to go back with these. So I just follow them down to wherever there are some growths and cut them back so that I've got it just being thinned out a bit, because apart from anything else, I know if we do happen to get snow, then this gets covered and it comes down and it will break. So anything that is wispy through like so, I just want to take it back a bit and cut it off. And you soon see that we're getting a tidier plant all the time by just removing some of these bits, and it is so much better. We'll be able to come out through the doors. In general, around here on the house, I like to be able to use this time of year to be able to get things back into a little bit more as though it looks as though they are actually looked after. I'm going to have to get some steps because I can't reach all of this up here, and I will then reduce the height of this shrub. But basically I have got rid of a lot of weight there. There are one or two pieces that are going upright which I would always take down, and then I'm left with these lovely rounded pieces at the end which are already full of what will be flower bud here on the end. So here we are. These are all potentially going to be the flower buds for the spring. I hope this video has given you some ideas on how to be cutting back your shrubs and your perennials. So as always, at the end, clear up your mess, take it to wherever you're putting it. This will probably go to the compost heap, and then it will be rotted down for later. Thank you very much for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel. If you want to watch another video of mine, YouTube thinks this one is perfect for you.